After sweeping that compound, go and wash the plate and don't forget to cook before I get back home.
Bambam shouted at her husband, who was sweeping the compound with his head bent low. Some neighbors were watching him and whispering to each other. Bambam did not care. That is what he gets, she said to herself. If he cannot bring money home, he should make himself useful. Sit back, let me tell you where it all began. 10 years ago, Samson and Bambam were the couple everyone wanted to be like in their community. They lived in a modest house in the heart of Port Harcourt. Samson worked as a manager in an oil servicing company. His salary was good. Very good. He took care of everything in the house. He paid the rent. He bought food. He gave Bambam money for her hair, her clothes, and anything else she wanted. Bambam did not work then. She stayed at home, cooked meals, and kept the house clean. She was content. Samson would come home every evening, and she would serve him hot food. They would sit together and talk about their day. On weekends, Samson would take her out to nice places. They would eat at restaurants, go to the cinema, and sometimes travel to Lagos or Abuja just to relax. Life was sweet for them. Their neighbors envied them. People would say, "See Samson and Bambam. That is how marriage should be." Bambam would smile whenever she heard such words. She felt proud to be Samson's wife. But then things started to change. Started small. Samson's company began having problems. The oil industry was not doing well. Many companies were closing down or reducing their staff. Samson's company tried to survive by cutting salaries. Samson's salary was reduced by 30%. It was painful, but he managed. He told Bambam about it, and she was understanding at first. "It is okay," she said. "Things will get better." But things did not get better. 6 months later, Samson's company let him go. Just like that. After working there for 8 years, they told him his services were no longer needed. They gave him a small severance pay and wished him well. Samson was devastated. He came home that day looking like a ghost. His eyes were red. His shoulders were dropped. Bambam knew something was wrong immediately. "What happened?" she asked. Samson sat down heavily on the sofa. "They fired me," he said quietly. "I no longer have a job." Bambam felt her heart sink. For a moment, she did not know what to say. Then she moved closer to him and held his hand. "It will be fine," she said. "You will find another job." Samson nodded, but he did not look convinced. For the first few months, Samson tried everything. He sent his CV to every company he could think of. He went for interviews. He registered with recruitment agencies. He reached out to old friends and colleagues, asking if they knew of any openings. But nothing came through. The oil industry was still struggling, and many experienced people like Samson were looking for work. Companies were not hiring. Even when they were, they wanted younger people who would accept lower salaries. Samson grew frustrated. Every day he would wake up, dress up nicely, and go out looking for work. He would come back in the evening tired and disappointed. Bambam would ask him how it went, and he would just shake his head. Their savings began to run low. The severance pay was finished. Rent was due. Food was getting scarce. Bills were piling up. Bambam began to worry. She began to complain. "Samson, what are we going to do?" she would ask. "We have no money. How will we survive?" Samson had no answers. He felt like a failure. He felt like he was letting his wife down. The pressure was eating him up inside. One day, Bambam's sister, Chidera, came to visit. Chidera owned a small boutique where she sold clothes and accessories. The business was doing well. When Chidera saw how things were with Bambam and Samson, she suggested something. "Bambam, why don't you start your own business?" Chidera said. "You can sell clothes like me. I will help you. I will give you goods on credit, and you can pay me back when you sell them." Bambam thought about it. She had never done business before, but she had no choice. They needed money desperately. "Okay," Bambam said. "I will try." Chidera was true to her word. She gave Bambam clothes, shoes, bags, and jewelry on credit. Bambam set up a small shop in the front of their house. She started selling. First, business was slow. But Bambam was a friendly person, and she knew how to talk to customers. Slowly, people started coming. She would sell 1 item today, 2 items tomorrow. Within a few months, her business started growing. Bambam discovered that she had a talent for business. She knew which clothes would sell. She knew how to price her goods. She knew how to attract customers. Soon, her small shop became popular in the neighborhood. Women would come from different areas to buy from her. Bambam started making good money. Very good money. Sometimes she would make more in a week than Samson used to make in a month at his old job. As Bambam's business grew, things began to change in her marriage. At first, she was just happy that they had money coming in. She would give Samson money for food and other household needs. Samson was grateful. He continued looking for work, but he also started helping Bambam with small things in the shop when he was at home. But as time went on, Bambam began to see things differently. She was now the one bringing money into the house. She was the one providing. Samson was at home, still looking for work but not finding anything. Bambam started to feel powerful. She started to feel like she was better than Samson. When Samson would ask her for money, she would give it to him, but her attitude changed. She would hand him the money with a certain look on her face, a look that said, "You are depending on me now." Samson noticed the change, but he said nothing. He felt ashamed enough as it was. He did not want to create more problems. Then Bambam started making demands. "Samson, since you are at home, you should help clean the house," she said one day. Samson was surprised. "But you know I am looking for work. I go out every day. And you come back with nothing," Bambam replied sharply. "Look, I am the one working now. I am the one bringing money. The least you can do is keep the house clean." Samson felt the words cut deep, but he swallowed his pride. "Okay," he said quietly. First it was just small chores. Sweeping the compound, washing dishes. But soon, Bambam started giving Samson more and more tasks. She would ask him to wash her clothes, to cook the meals, clean the bathroom, to go to the market and buy food. Samson did all of it without complaining. He told himself it was temporary. He would find a job soon and things would go back to normal. But the neighbors began to notice. They would see Samson outside washing clothes or sweeping while Bambam was in her shop attending to customers. They would whisper among themselves, "See Samson doing woman's work," they would say. "His wife has turned him into a housemaid." The whispers got back to Samson, but what could he do? He had no money. He had no job. He depended on Bambam for everything. Bambam, on the other hand, seemed to enjoy the power she had. She would talk to her friends about how she was now the one running things at home. "My husband helps me a lot," she would say with a small laugh. "He does the cooking and cleaning while I focus on my business." Her friends would laugh too, but some of them felt uncomfortable. Did not seem right. As months passed, Bambam became more disrespectful. She would talk down to Samson in front of people. She would criticize everything he did. "Samson, you did not sweep this place well," she would say loudly, so the customers in her shop could hear. "Do it again." Or, "Samson, this food you cooked is tasteless. Next time do better." Samson would feel his face burn with shame, but he would just nod and do as she said. One day Bambam's friend, Blessing, came to visit. As they sat in the shop talking, Bambam called out to Samson, "Samson, bring us cold drinks from the fridge." Samson brought the drinks. As he handed them to the women, Blessing looked at him with pity in her eyes. After Samson left, Blessing spoke quietly. "Bambam, don't you think you are being too hard on your husband?" Bambam waved her hand dismissively. "Too hard, please. If he was man enough to provide for his family, I would not have to treat him like this. He should be grateful that I am even taking care of him." Blessing said nothing more, but she felt sad for Samson. One evening, Samson sat alone in their bedroom. He felt empty inside. He had tried everything to find work. He had sent out hundreds of CVs. He had attended countless interviews. Nothing was working out. He looked at himself in the mirror. He saw a man who had lost his dignity. A man who had become a servant in his own home. A man whose wife no longer respected him. For the first time in many months, Samson cried. He cried for the life he had lost. He cried for the respect he no longer had. He cried because he did not know what else to do. But even in his pain, Samson made a decision. He would not give up. He would keep trying. He would find a way to turn things around. 3 weeks later, Samson received a phone call that changed everything. It was from an old colleague named Femi who had left their former company years ago to start his own business. Femi had heard that Samson was looking for work. "Samson, my brother, how far?" Femi said cheerfully over the phone. "I am managing, Femi." "Managing?" Samson replied. Look, I heard you are searching for work. I have a proposal for you. Can we meet tomorrow to discuss? Samson's heart leaped. Yes, definitely. What time? They agreed to meet the next day at a restaurant. Samson could barely sleep that night. He did not tell Bambam about it because he did not want to get his hopes up or hers. The next day, Samson met with Femi. Femi explained that his company was expanding, and he needed someone with experience to help manage one of the new divisions. He wanted Samson to join him as a partner, not just an employee. But Femi, I don't have money to invest, Samson said honestly. Femi smiled. I know your situation. I'm not asking you to invest money. I am asking you to invest your experience and your time. We will split the profits. What do you say? Samson could not believe his ears. Are you serious? Very serious, my brother. I know what you are capable of. I need someone I can trust. Are you in? Samson felt tears forming in his eyes. Yes, I am in. Samson did not tell Bambam about the opportunity immediately. He wanted to make sure it was real first. He started working with Femi, helping to set up the new division. Femi gave him a small advance to take care of himself. Every day, Samson would leave the house as usual, but instead of going to look for work hopelessly, he was now working on building something real. He poured all his energy into it. He worked long hours. He gave his best. At home, Bambam did not notice any change. She continued treating Samson the same way, making him do chores and speaking to him disrespectfully. Samson did everything without complaint. He was patient. He knew his time was coming. 3 months later, the new division launched officially. It was a huge success. Within weeks, contracts started coming in. Money started flowing. Femi and Samson were making more profit than they had anticipated. Femi called Samson into his office one day and handed him an envelope. This is your share of the profits so far, Femi said. And this is just the beginning. Samson opened the envelope. Inside was a check for an amount that was 3 times what he used to earn in a year at his old job. Samson stared at the check, unable to speak. You deserve it, my brother, Femi said, patting him on the back. You have worked hard. And there is more where that came from. That evening, Samson went home with a full heart. He had planned what he was going to do. When Samson got home, Bambam was in her shop as usual. He went to the bedroom, freshened up, and waited for her to close for the day. When Bambam came in, she saw Samson sitting on the bed with a calm expression on his face. Samson, did you cook dinner? She asked immediately. No, Samson said simply. Bambam frowned. What do you mean no? What have you been doing at home all day? I was not at home all day, Samson said calmly. I was at work. Bambam laughed mockingly. Work? What work? Have you finally found a job as a cleaner somewhere? Samson reached into his pocket and brought out the check. He placed it on the bed. Bambam looked at it. At first, she could not process what she was seeing. Then her eyes widened. What is this? She stammered. That is my share of the profits from the business I have been building for the past 3 months, Samson said. I am now a partner in a company. A successful company. Bambam picked up the check with shaking hands. She read the amount again and again. It was more money than she had made in her entire year of running the boutique. But how? She whispered. Samson explained everything. How Femi had called him. How he had been working secretly. How the business had taken off. Bambam sat down slowly on the bed. She felt like the ground was spinning beneath her. Over the next few days, Samson's life transformed. He rented a proper office space. He bought new clothes. He started going out to meet with clients and partners. Money was no longer a problem. And Bambam watched it all happen with growing regret. She remembered how she had treated him. How she had talked down to him. How she had made him do all the house chores. How she had humiliated him in front of neighbors and friends. How she had made him feel like less than a man. Now Samson was back on top. He was earning even more than before. But he was different. He was quieter. More reserved. He was polite to her, but the warmth was gone. One evening, Bambam tried to talk to him. Samson, I want to say I am sorry, she began, her voice breaking. Samson looked at her calmly. Sorry for what? For everything. For how I treated you when things were hard. For disrespecting you. For making you feel worthless. Tears started rolling down Bambam's face. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I forgot that we are supposed to be partners. I forgot that marriage is about supporting each other through good times and bad times. When you lost your job, I should have stood by you. I should have encouraged you. Instead, I treated you like a servant." Samson was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke softly. "Bambam, do you know what hurt me the most? It was not the chores. It was not even the disrespect in front of people. It was the fact that you stopped seeing me as your husband. You stopped seeing me as a human being with feelings. You saw me as someone who was useless just because I had no money at that moment." Bambam cried harder. "I am so sorry, Samson. Please forgive me. Please give me another chance." Samson did not answer Bambam immediately. He needed time to process everything. The pain she had caused him was deep. It could not be erased with just an apology. But as the days went by, Samson began to soften. He remembered the good years they had shared. He remembered how Bambam had supported him when he first lost his job. He remembered that she was also human and humans make mistakes. Slowly, Samson started to forgive her. Not because she deserved it, but because he knew that holding on to bitterness would only destroy him. They started going for counseling together. A pastor in their church helped them talk through their issues. Bambam learned about the importance of respect in marriage, regardless of who was bringing in money. Samson learned about the importance of communication and not keeping secrets, even when trying to prove a point. Gradually, their relationship began to heal. Bambam changed completely. She started treating Samson with the respect he deserved. She supported his business ventures. She encouraged him. She became the wife she should have been all along. And Samson, seeing her genuine change, opened his heart to her again. 2 years later, Samson and Bambam's marriage was stronger than ever. They had both learned valuable lessons from their experience. Samson's business had grown even bigger. Bambam's boutique was also thriving. They were both successful, but more importantly, they were partners again. They made some new rules in their marriage. Money would never determine who was more important. They would both contribute to the household chores, not because one had to, but because they were partners. They would respect each other at all times, regardless of circumstances. One Sunday afternoon, they sat together in their living room. Their house had been renovated and looked beautiful. Everything they had lost during the hard times had been restored and more. "Samson," Bambam said softly, "thank you for forgiving me." Samson smiled and held her hand. "Thank you for changing. Thank you for learning." "I learned a big lesson," Bambam said. "I learned that money does not make someone valuable. I learned that hard times reveal who we truly are. I learned that respect is not something you give only when it is convenient. It is something you give always, especially to the person you promise to spend your life with." Samson nodded. "And I learned that pride can destroy a man. I should have communicated better with you instead of suffering in silence. We should have faced the hard times together, openly." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, holding hands. News of Samson and Bambam's story spread through their community. People talked about how Bambam had treated her husband badly when he lost his job, and how she had regretted it when things turned around for him. The story became a lesson for many couples. Young wives learned not to disrespect their husbands when times were hard. Young husbands learned not to tie their worth to their bank accounts. Everyone learned that marriage was about partnership, not about who had more money or power. Years later, when Bambam would tell her story to younger women, she would always end with these words. "I almost destroyed my marriage because I let money cloud my judgment. I forgot that the man I was humiliating was the same man who had taken care of me for years when I had nothing. I forgot that life is full of seasons. Sometimes you are up, sometimes you are down. The true test of character is how you treat people when they are down. I failed that test, but I was lucky enough to get a second chance. Not everyone gets that chance. So please learn from my mistakes. Respect your partner always. Support them in their difficult times. Because one day, the tables might turn, and you will be the one who needs support." And whenever Samson heard her say these words, he would smile and hold her hand, grateful that they had both learned their lessons and grateful that their love had survived the storm. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. Your support helps us tell amazing stories like this. Stay safe.